Hi guys, welcome back to Nico Talks Hockey. Today, I'm talking about prospects again, but this time I want to rank all the prospect pools in the NHL from 1 to 32. We're going to be doing it a little bit differently. I am going through every team. I'll be ranking them, giving a number 1 through 32, starting from 32 all the way up to 1. But I wanted to also cut them into like tiers. So I have 4 tiers today. Tier 4 are the bad pools. I think that, by maybe I'm doing subjective as my opinion, but I think that objectively a lot of people, NHL fans can see this ranking and say that okay, any prospect pools in this tier, yeah, they're objectively not that great. So I've labeled them bad pools with a little bit of just info on each of these tiers. The bad pools, they have like zero depth, no depth, and then maybe 1 or 2 impact players who could, reach the NHL and play some type of role. In tier 3, I have the below average pools. So there's some depth here, but, and there's maybe a few players who could become something. Maybe 1 top 6 or top 4, forward or defenseman respectively. But yeah, this is definitely better than the bad pools, but it's not that good. Tier 2 is where we get into the good / even very good category. These are deep pools, but they are not like tier 1 great pools because they are lacking more than 1 or 2 true like blue chippers, just players will turn into like either elite or maybe even a star. But these are good pools, don't get me wrong, potentially even very good. But tier 1, this is the best of the best. They obviously very deep, that goes without question. But you have many top 6 or top 4 future players. So this goes without saying that this is the best of the best prospect pools. So yeah, there's 32 teams to get through, so I don't want to keep us waiting too long here. Let's just go right into it. These are the first 8 teams these are the teams that are in the bad prospect pool tier. Tier 4. Starting with number 32, I have Vegas Golden Knights. I think they have the worst prospect pool in the NHL. The only player I can think of, Trevor Connolly. There's no depth, and their best player is like a middle 6 option. Moving into number 31, you've got the Florida Panthers. I mean, these are all the teams that have also been very good for a while, right? So if you're here, you should probably be happy as a fan because even though, your future is not looking great right now, your immediate present is probably very good or has been good recently. So you're probably very satisfied or happy. Grayson Sawchyn is like the only Panthers prospect I can really give a lot of thought that maybe they could become something. Maybe something at the forward level. Oh, sorry, they're a forward, but maybe top 9, something like that. Number 30, Tampa Bay Lightning, a team that's had a lot of success in the past 5 years. The future definitely looks murky here because the present also isn't the best. Obviously, recent future, 2 cups, you really can't complain, but it could get dicey in the future because their prospect pool is very bad. Moving on, and they've also just traded Isaac Howard, right? And I understand they got O'Reilly back, but Isaac Howard, I was a big fan of, so not great. Moving to number 29, this is one of the worst positions you can be in, which is a team that has an unclear present and a bad future. It's the LA Kings, Los Angeles Kings. I think I'm not a fan at all of their prospect pool. They've got a lot of goalies that could become something, so that's, I guess, something. That's why they're not in the bottom 3. But they gotta hope that their young players like Byfield, like Turcotte, like Clark, can become something very soon because their win now window, like their Stanley Cup window is like right now, and that's not great because they haven't gotten out of the first round in like who knows how long. Moving on to number 28 is the Colorado Avalanche. It's a little bit better because of Gavin Brindley, and they know how to draft, I think, better than some of the other teams. I think they've got a good scouting department, but the Avalanche, they've won a cup. They are probably going to win. Well, I mean, they're going to be a Stanley Cup contender for years to come. But yeah, their prospect pool is very bare and will probably remain bare until they finally tear it down. Number 27, Toronto Maple Leafs. They do have Easton Cowan and they do have Ben Danford. So that's why they're up here and like, the top part of this of tier 4 here. But aside from that, they've got like literally no one. A bunch of like, just really long shot prospects to make the big leagues. So yeah, I think Easton Cowan will become something, and I think Ben Danford at worst is like a 5th or 6th defenseman. But yeah, that's about it, right? So they really got to hope that they can win like within the next 4 years, because I think that's their window here. At number 26, you got the Edmonton Oilers. Getting Ike Howard is a huge bonus, but he will be playing in the NHL this year, which means after this ranking, this is the last little bit of time that he will count as a prospect. So then they truly have like no one. So I mean, they've got some prospects, but and there's a reason they're up this high, right? They're better than the teams I've already mentioned, but yeah, the prospect pool is looking bad. Thankfully, they've got the best player in the world, another player who's at least top 5 in the world, and a really a top 10 defenseman as well, and Evan Bouchard. So their win now window is definitely, sorry, I keep saying that their win window is right now. So they've gotten 2 years in a row, just either a game off or 2 games off. So if you're a fan, you're not looking at the future right now. You're looking at McDavid and Draisaitl and winning right now. So it's okay. At number 25 is unfortunately the Winnipeg Jets, because they're a little bit like the Kings. I think they're better position than the Kings, but not a very impressive prospect pool, and their core is all a little bit older. So again, their window to win has to be very soon, and that's a little scary because maybe they don't have they don't have the people to necessarily win it all. So that's a little scary, but yeah, just looking at the prospect pool for the Winnipeg Jets, it's not that good. They just don't have a lot of hitters there. They've got a couple players who could maybe become at very best a top 6, like maybe second line, but second line player there, but yeah, just not great for the Jets. I want to look back. I'm trying to find what their best player. Yeah, so Braden Yeager, right? Braden Yeager could become a top 6 threat. Yeah, for sure. But I see him more as like a middle 6, maybe third line player, which isn't great, right? But that was it for tier 4. That was the bad prospect pools. We're moving on to the below average pools. This is at best maybe an average prospect pool. There's some depth here for sure, but there's only a couple players at best that could become really something at the NHL level. At number 24 is the Pittsburgh Penguins. Now it is there's something to be said that the Pittsburgh Penguins are this high. That's a good thing because they haven't even really begun truly tanking. I think that this season will probably mark the beginning of that, and maybe they'll very likely go for Gavin McKenna once they trade Raquel and Rust and maybe Letang, Malkin, and Erik Karlsson. We'll see about Crosby. I don't think so, but we'll see. But yeah, Penguins, they have some things, right? They have McGroarty. There's a defensive prospect that I forget who they've got, but he impresses me. McGroarty, I do think if they can just develop him properly, I think he will be a top 6 player for them. But yeah, they definitely need a lot more. They need like true blue chippers eventually. At number 23 is the Dallas Stars. Dallas Stars, it's a little bit of like kind of a red herring because it's not indicative of how good their young players are that don't count as prospects anymore, right? Wyatt Johnston, Jason Robinson's still relatively young. He's nowhere close to the age of like a prospect. I get it, but they have a young core. I know that Maverick Bork. They traded Logan Stankoven. He's no longer on their team, but Wyatt Johnston, Maverick Bork, Thomas Harley, Jake Ottinger's still relatively young, pretty sure. They've got a lot of young, good players, but they just don't count as prospects anymore. So the best prospect is Leon Bichel. So he will be good. Don't get me wrong, but yeah, in terms of just prospect pools, it's not that great in Stars Land. So their win window, their cup window is right now for the Dallas Stars. Moving on to number 22, we've got the New York Rangers. This is an okay prospect pool. I mean, I'd say it's just below average. Gabe Perreault is going to be a good player. He's going to be a top 6 forward for sure for their team. But yeah, you've got a couple defensemen there that are okay. It just comes down to, if I had more confidence in the New York Rangers' ability to develop their prospects well, I would maybe have them a little higher. I think I'm just looking at the personnel here, so I would keep them at 22, but I would be more optimistic for their prospect pool's futures if I knew the Rangers could develop them properly, but they do not have the track record of that, so they come in at number 22. At number 21 is the Vancouver Canucks. Vancouver has an okay prospect pool. Lekkerimaki and Tom Willander are people who I genuinely think high of. I think Lekkerimaki at worst is a third liner. I think he will be a top 6 player when he fully matures and develops. And then Willander, I think, will absolutely be a top 4 defenseman. I think, a third or fourth defenseman on that team who will have great shutdown abilities. So yeah, coming at number 21, I think it's decent. Not a lot of depth there for sure. And that's not great because the Canucks need to win. That means, Quinn Hughes, and it's a lot of timelines that are scary for any Canucks fan right now, but it's helpful to know that Lekkerimaki and Willander will be something. I truly think that. Number 20, Boston Bruins. They are here solely because of James Higgins. No James Higgins, they might be 32 out of 32. It's that bleak, but getting James Higgins, I'm not a believer in Fabian Lysell. I'm off that hype train. It's too bad that he didn't turn into something. But James Higgins is I'm such a believer in James Higgins that is why they're at number 20. That they're that high, because I truly believe that he will end up being the number 1 center, at worst the number 2 center for their team. So good for them for getting James Higgins. We'll see how much longer they want to be. Maybe they go on a retool here and they bottom out for just like a year, one more year, or at most 2 more years to see if they can get Gavin McKenna or someone somewhat of that caliber to then quickly, shoot up back up the rankings, shoot up back up the standings, and just do a quick mini retool here. We'll see. Number 19, the Carolina Hurricanes. They have a fantastic scouting department. So even though they have been great for many years, they have not won the cup, but they've been good for a lot of years now. Just have to get over the hump that is the 3rd round. But they have a good prospect pool, even though they've had so much regular season success. Nikishin, although he won't be a prospect after this coming year, is one of the best prospects in my opinion in the entire league. So yeah, it's deep and it's headlined by one of the best defensive prospects in my opinion. And number 18 is the Philadelphia Flyers. I really like Danny Briere. I like Keith Jones. I just wish they'd commit more to the rebuild, because at number 18 for a team that's been bad for a while, that's not good enough in my opinion. So they have some really good prospects. Bonk, I think, will be eventually like maybe a 4th defenseman, a top 4 defenseman. And Porter Martone obviously will be at least a top 6 player, top 6 forward for them. Obviously Matvei Michkov, nothing needs to be said there. He will be a top line winger for many, many years to come. You've got Konechny. I just wish that for just maybe 2 years, bottom out, go for McKenna. We'll see what they do this year, but I'd like to see the Flyers get into at least the top half of the prospect pools here. At number 17, I saw a lot of people say that the Senators, at number 17 is the Ottawa Senators. I'm getting ahead of myself. The Ottawa Senators, I think, have a better prospect pool than a lot of pundits give them credit for. I'm a big fan of Yakimchuk. I'm a big fan of their goalie prospect. I just think like that, along with their young core, it's very exciting times in Ottawa. New ownership, new GM, who I'm a fan of. Yeah, it's exciting times to be an Ottawa Senator fan for sure. We're moving into our second tier here. This is the good / very good prospect pools. I categorize this as like they have depth. Like every team in this tier has depth. Like going on 16 all the way up to 1 has a ton of depth. But in this tier 2, it's like they're lacking more than just 1 or 2 true blue chippers of prospects. I think they do have at least 1 or 2. If you belong in this category, you do have at least 1 or 2 blue chipper prospects, but that's about it. So at number 16, it's the Nashville Predators. I expect this to climb, although I'm not incredibly confident in Barry Trotz and his scouting department's ability to pick the right player. I do like Molendyk. I think it's Molendyk. Tara Molendyk. I am a fan of Brady Martin. I really am. But I thought there was, I wish they went for James Higgins. I wish they went for Porter Martone because I'm higher on those players. So I think it could be better. I think it could have been, it could, if they made the choices that I thought that maybe were the better choices, maybe they could have been in that 9-10 range, maybe a top 10 prospect pool. But still, 16 isn't bad, and I think it'll get better because I think that a lot more suffering is in store for them in the short term. At number 15 is the Calgary Flames, headlined by Zane Parekh. I'm really a big fan of what Craig Conroy has done. They are a rare case of being able to have a good prospect pool, building it up, they had a bunch of first-round picks in recent years, while also being a team that has respectability about it. They've not bottomed out, and I don't think that their market can probably handle them bottoming out and being a true tanking team, which is why they haven't. But all props to Craig Conroy and staff because they've been able to be somewhat competitive. They just missed playoffs. They're like one of the very few teams that got, was it 96 points or something, that still missed playoffs. So really unfortunate for them, but we'll see. I hope they can commit just a little bit more to the tank so they can have a higher odds of getting Gavin McKenna because he would transform their franchise. But yeah, at 15 is good for the Flames because for a team that has yet to fully tank, having a top 15 prospect pool is quite good. At number 14 is the New Jersey Devils, also a really good position to be in because they're a team that I think is just a little bit away from being an actual true cup contender. So having a 14th best prospect pool is pretty good. With a lot of those, a couple years ago they had a top 5 prospect pool because of how many young players have graduated to NHL status and are no longer prospects. But they've got a lot of good ones. I think personally headlined by Anton Salayev, absolute giant of a defender that I think will be really good at shutting people down and using his reach to his advantage. They've got a lot of good defensive prospects, and then they also have a great young core with Jack Hughes and Dawson Mercer and Luke Hughes. It's I think it's a good time to be Devils fan. You just have to be a little bit more patient, and hopefully they can stay injury free. At number 13, the Washington Capitals, a very impressive organization because they have been able to stay relevant and competitive while also they only had 1 or 2 years off where they okay, we'll commit to the just bottoming out for 1 or 2 years, and they got Ryan Leonard and they got Cole Hudson, which he projects to be really good. Just really impressive to have this good of a prospect pool while also being this competitive. It's rare to do that, and so props to the Capitals management staff. Moving on to top 12, this is the prospect pools that just missed the top 10. Still in tier 2 though. It's the Buffalo Sabres. Now they have so many young players that don't count as prospects anymore. Oh my God, his name is escaping me right now. He's the young player who had his first season last year, moving into his sophomore season, and he was drafted in 2023. He's quite short. He's quite small. Zach Benson. Big believer in Zach Benson. He will absolutely be at the worst a second line winger. I think he will eventually be a top line winger, probably replacing Peterka on that top line. They've got so many young players, and they've got a good prospect pool. Again, Buffalo, it's not their ability to draft. They've got great drafting abilities. They've got good scouting department. They know how to pick them. They don't know how to keep them. So if they can figure that out, and that starts with just being a winning hockey team, they can just do that. Probably starts with getting rid of Kevin Adams and probably getting rid of the ownership, but that's a discussion for a different day. Yeah, they have a good prospect pool. I like who they picked this past draft. He should be a good defenseman. Yeah, Sabres come in at number 12. Moving on to number 11, the New York Islanders. It's insane that they're this high after just one season. So props to Matthew Darche for recognizing that while I don't think they're going to probably go into the rebuild, I think it's going to be a bit of a retool. I think they could have gotten so many assets if they decided to trade, their big time guys like Barzal, who doesn't really fit the timeline. I understand that this is also a market that maybe can't survive a rebuild. So you go into the retool, and if it's just a retool, Matthew Darche and company has done one hell of a job retooling so far, because they've got Cole Eiserman, they've got Victor Eklund, Kashawn Aitchison, and then obviously Matthew Schaefer. They also got, who'd they get from the Avalanche? Callum Ritchie. That's a really nice group of 5 really nice players who will become NHLers for sure. It's just about the ceiling, right? And some of those players have really nice ceilings, like Matthew Schaefer. So super impressive that the Islanders are here after looking like the most no man's land team in the whole league just a year ago. Moving into our top 10. This is still in this tier 2 though. At number 10 is the St. Louis Blues. Very big fan of their prospect pool. Love Jimmy Snuggerud. Really big fan of Dvorsky. I know that some people have probably, I've seen that there's some analysts have said that, Dvorsky, they maybe be a little bit lower now on Dvorsky and his ceiling, but I still think that he'll be a top 6 player for the St. Louis Blues. So yeah, I think they've drafted really well. Theo Lindstein is another one. They're deep. Not a ton of blue chippers besides maybe just Snuggerud and maybe Dvorsky. That's kind of why I had to put them in this tier 2. But the depth is crazy. They have so many players that will become something at the NHL level. I'm sure of it. At number 9, I have the Anaheim Ducks. They're just missing the top tier here because of how many young players that have already gone to the NHL. Right? They have Roger McQueen, and they've got Beckett Seneca. They're the best 2 prospects in their system. But a lot of their young players are already no longer prospects, like Leo Carlson, like Mason McTavish, like Olin Zellweger, and all those defensive prospects they have, like Tristan Luneau, So depending on how you define it, maybe Luneau is still a prospect. But still, the Ducks have not only a great young core, but they have an unbelievable prospect pool as well. So very, very deep. Tons of players that could become something at the NHL level, and then at least 1 or 2 prospects that will become, top 6 players, top 4 defensemen. So very impressive by the Anaheim organization. Moving on to our top tier. This is it. This is the best of the best prospect pools. If you're in this category, I won't necessarily give you all the props, because for some of these teams, they've just been bad for a while, and that's kind of just the result of being bad for a while. You're going to have a really good prospect pool. But then again, some of these organizations have chosen the best prospects available to them, so props to them for that. They've also done a good job of just not hoarding, but just getting as many chances they can at prospects that could become something. So yeah, props to them. At number 8, starting out this best of the best tier, is the Detroit Red Wings. Steve Yzerman, he's got some flaws, obviously. He is, he runs the risk of maybe being fired because he has not been able to get this team over the hump and into the playoffs for many years now, but you cannot knock his ability to draft. He knows how to draft, and he's really been able to find some really good ones. Seider, Edvinsson, Raymond. He was not able to pick, 1, 2, or 3, but when he picks still high, he knows how to find the best player available. Raymond, huge fan of. Sider, great defenseman. Edvinson's going to be unbelievable. And then like Axel Sandin Palika or Nate Danielson, Carter Bear. This is such a deep prospect pool that like their 10th best defenseman is still going to become something. And then they've got definitely like a handful of blue chippers in there as well. So yeah, Red Wings prospect pool, very scary. Moving on to Seattle Kraken at number 7. The Kraken, they're so deep in terms of the best position to also be deep at, which is center. I'd like to see them maybe prioritize defense a little bit more. But they already have their future 1-2 punch. We just don't even know who that they're going to be. It could be Berkeley Catton at number 1 center. It could stay remaining Matty Beniers. It could be Shane Wright. He's been going just up and up every year since he was drafted. So it's it could be any one of those guys, and yeah, they just have a lot of really good forwards, really good centers who could eventually move to the wing. They are like the staple of best player available. Maybe it doesn't work exactly in terms of what's best for your organization in terms of like what you need right now, but they're looking obviously at the future then, and all power to them for that, because some organizations get caught up in what positional need they need right now. The Kraken are the opposite of that. They're like, okay, well, this is the best player available. We're just going to take him. So good for them for that. Moving on to the top 6 here, just missing the top 5. It's the Blue Jackets, Columbus Blue Jackets. They're worrying me just a little bit. They may be moving a little bit into the Buffalo Sabres land of not being able to keep your young players, your young promising players. I look to, who's the defenseman? David Jiricek. Who they just, they had to trade eventually to the Minnesota Wild. It's great for them. They have one of the best young, up-and-coming defensive blue lines. But yeah, so the Columbus Blue Jackets, it's not great they lost him. They kind of really got nothing in return that's going to be of value. But enough talking badly about the Blue Jackets. They have one of the best prospect pools in the NHL still, even if losing Jiricek. You have Fantilli, who doesn't even count as a prospect, and he's going to be your number 1 center for like hopefully the rest of his career. You've got Marchenko, who's not even a prospect, and he's like going to be a 30-goal scorer consistently. You just have so many young players. I'm praying that Caden Lindstrom turns into what we all hope he can be. And what we've seen flashes of, it's just that injury history that keeps him down. So hopefully Caden Lindstrom can become something. Their goalie of the future, Jet Greaves, I don't even know if you can count him as a prospect. So they have, in my opinion, a top 6 prospect pool along with all of their core, not even counting as prospects. So that's a really good position to be in. Don Waddell and company just has to pounce upon it. Moving to our top 5 here. I didn't know that this would be such a long video. I thought I could do it a little bit faster. I apologize. At number 5 is the Utah Mammoth, headlined by Tija Ginla, Caleb Denoye, Dmitry Simashev, Daniil Boot. It's deep. It's so deep of a prospect pool, and they have a ton of blue chippers. Tons of players who will be top 4 defensemen, top 6 forwards, maybe top line players. It's that impressive. So good on the Mammoth. I wish them nothing but success moving forward. At number 4, already spoke a little bit about them, but it is the Minnesota Wild. This is wizardry by the Wild management and staff. Bill Guerin has done an unbelievable job, better than the Washington Capitals even, at staying competitive, staying relevant, getting the playoffs pretty much every single year in, year out, but then also having one of the absolute best prospect pools in the game today. It is so impressive what they've been able to build. Their blue line is looking unbelievably scary with Jiricek and Faber and Boyum. Spurgeon will pass off that mantle, and I'm sure one of those defensemen will probably take the captaincy. You've got Marco Rossi, who's not a prospect anymore, I get it, but Yurov is coming in. Liam Ogren is going to be a top 6 player, I believe, in my opinion. So yeah, very impressive. And the Wild, the state of hockey, it's looking really promising. If they can just lock up Kaprizov now, they will be a threat in the Central for the next 10 plus years. But this is it, the top three prospect pools in the entire league. At number three, it's the Montreal Canadiens. Now, I know that some people might have them at number one, but that is not to take away from, just having them number three doesn't mean that I'm not thoroughly impressed with how they've been able to, what Kent Hughes has been able to do with that team, because they look like they will be, if it's not going to be the Edmonton Oilers, it looks like the Montreal Canadiens might be the next Canadian team to win the Stanley Cup, because what they've been building, what Kent Hughes and company has been building in Montreal, is just the hallmarks of a Stanley Cup winning team. You've got Nick Suzuki at number one center. You've got Cole Caulfield there as a or top line wing. You've got Slavkovsky, who will be another top six wing. You've got Demidov, another top six wing at the very worst, probably top line wing. David Reinbacher. You've turned Logan Mailloux into Zach Bolduc, who will be a top six player in my opinion. At worst, like maybe a third line player, but I think he'll probably be like in that top six as a wing. You've got Lane Hudson. I know he's not a prospect anymore, but I think I'm just talking about their prospect pool along with their young core. It is unbelievably impressive and exciting, and if you're a Montreal fan, there's no better time than right now to be a fan of this team. Moving into our top two, there's only two teams left, and it is the Chicago Blackhawks and it is the San Jose Sharks. In what order do I have them? Well, in number two, I do have the Chicago Blackhawks. I think that they have some of the best depth, and especially defensive depth. I think they have the best defensive depth, maybe only rivaled by the Minnesota Wild. I'll give them probably the Minnesota Wild the best defensive depth. But the Chicago Blackhawks, I don't think that their defensemen, their prospects, are talked about nearly enough. You've got Artem Levshunov, who could be a number one defenseman. Sam Rinzel, who has the potential to be a number one or number two defenseman. You've got, who else do you got? You've got Ethan Del Mastro, who's a really nice, I think he'll develop into a nice shutdown option. Vlasic is no longer a prospect, but he is like, when it's all said and done, probably a number three defenseman who is the number one shutdown option for you. You've got, who else? They've got Nolan Allen, who's still, I think, a prospect. He could be a number 5 or 6 option. Wyatt Kaiser, he's no longer a prospect, but they just have so many young options on defense. And then you get into the forwards. Frank Nazar is no longer a prospect, but he will be a top 6 option for many years to come. Might end up being the number 2 center for their team, their rebuilt team. And then Frondell, getting Frondell. Without Frondell, they're probably like 6, 7, 8 maybe best prospect pool. But Anton Frondell, adding him to the team, it's just that the Blackhawks scream deep prospect pool. So it is so impressive. I'm so excited. Couldn't be happier that I'm a Chicago Blackhawks fan. I can't wait to see when all these players matriculate to the NHL and really show what Kyle Davidson's been cooking here. But at number one, the absolute best prospect pool in the NHL, it's the San Jose Sharks. Headlined by, in my opinion, the best prospect in the NHL, Michael Misa. You've also got a really nice blue chipper in Sam Dickinson. You've got so many young players in Will Smith and Macklin Celebrini. You'll be your number one center for hopefully his entire career. You've got Eklund. You've got oh my God, I'm blanking on how many just unbelievable players they've got. Lucas Caglione, I might be mispronouncing that. Luca Caglione, I think that's his name, Caglione, Italian, I'm sure. Who else they've got? They've got, oh my gosh, they've got that guy from, it's a forward. He was in the 2023 draft. Any Sharks fans, let me know in the comments who I'm missing from 2023 draft. They drafted him, I think it was their second or third player they drafted in the first round. They've got depth, so much depth at the forward. They're almost like the opposite of the Blackhawks. I think the Blackhawks have way more depth on the defensive side, and the Sharks have way more depth on the offense. So yeah, this has been a long video. I really apologize, but thank you so much to anyone who's stuck through this whole one. The Sharks have the absolute best prospect pool in the whole NHL, but that has been the ranking 1 through 32, all the prospect pools in the NHL. I've long wanted to do this, and I think it's just really cool to just take a step back and be like, who's got the best future here? Who is set up very well for the next decade plus with their prospect pools? So again, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. If you like the video, please consider subscribing. That would mean so much to me. And I will see you guys in the next video.